I would like to remind everyone that this show is brought to you by the Dolphin Wars.
Good day. Let's get ready to rumble.
Oh, yeah. Time to get it on.
Hello to the pod. I hope you're enjoying your spring so far and it's been dry and warm for you. Here it is rainy and kind of cool, but here we go. Let's heat things up with another interview today. You know him. He's been on the panel several times, and after talking to him and seeing what he's got going, I wanted to interview him. So please give a King Dolphin Television welcome to the Comic Relief Crusader.
Hello. I'm trying to be as polite and not as egotistical as possible. I will destroy you all.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, and here I'm in my death metal dolphin persona. So beware, all beware. Let's welcome our wonderful people who make this chat happening. Snorter Poopers is already saying, Sandra, keep me on my flippers.
Snorter Poopers.
Yes, indeed. I think with you we may bring out the mini snort. Yes, we should. All right. So let us welcome the wonderful chatters. First off, the wrench team supreme. We've got Legatus Legionii. We have the fantastic anti-derivative Jill, and my better half, the amazing producer of this show, the one who keeps me out of trouble, and who I desperately needed the past couple weeks. Sandra, welcome, Sandra. I'm glad we are all glad you are home.
Without her, you are nothing.
Without her, I am nothing. You are so right. All right. So, and the chatters, we have got D. Bud Martin.
G'day.
Yes. We have 32 flavors of Nick Weiser. And we've got
delicious.
We've got Lenrod, and of course, you know him, you're afraid of him. I know it doesn't do any good without the Jaws song. Snorter Poopers!
Snorter Poopers!
Pooper! Lenrod says that there is a Viking dolphin. Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. Again, thanks to Fet for Hire, who did these amazing death metal dolphin avatar and the great splash page.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Fet for Hire. That was great. I think
it was most awesome.
Yes. All right.
I especially like the flames on the side of the shorts. And me being a Transformers fan, it's very hot rodish.
Yeah. Snorter Poopa says Snoopy. Yeah, we had a Snoopy sighting.
Did we really?
Yes, we did.
Nice.
Now he's going after mommy. All right. So, how we do things here when we have interviews, I've got a set of questions and answer to the best of your ability. And then we open up to the chat. But since you have wares to show, then since you have wares to show, we will ask questions as you're showing your ware. So please, people, hold on to your questions until I am done with my questions. And I'm going to put out the ways you can reach the Comic Relief Crusader.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes. So there's his email address if you want to reach him. And here is the YouTube.
Fan mail appreciated, even though I'm only at 200 subscribers.
Yes. If you have not subscribed to oh, that's not, yeah, that
I would have loved to see Snoopy's face seeing Sandra for the first time after 2 weeks.
Oh, it was something to behold. He was definitely so happy to see mommy home.
Was her face covered in slobber?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
See you're weighing that response very carefully.
Usually he rides with me when I go pick her up after a long trip like this, but he didn't want to go this time. So he had to stay home, and so it was fun to see him welcome her when he got back.
Nice.
Yes. All right. So again, hold your questions. Snort. It's not that kind of wares.
And I'm too bashful. Sandra's just like, yes, show us now.
All right. So, the one question I usually ask everybody at the very beginning is, give us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Well, let's see. I was born at a very early age, and yeah, I know, shocking, isn't it? I seem to have that in common with pretty much 7 billion people, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I'm up here in the frozen north in Canada. So, and yeah, born downtown Toronto, and for some reason my parents saw fit to move all the way to the East Coast to New Brunswick, and yeah, where I've lived there for quite a few years and grown up chronologically. Mentally, that's a different so yeah. So no, I mean, I guess I've always been a nerd and a geek. I'm kind of like both rolled up into one, right? I mean, as well, let's say Raquel, over at Clobby's channel, who does the Saturday Night Star Trek and whatnot, how she likes to explain that nerds are basically, the bookworms, essentially, and obviously I'm using a loose definition, while the geeks are basically, into the comics and the games and the movies and blah blah blah. Well, I've done a little bit of both, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, besides doing graphic design, I mean, I've always enjoyed comics, and originally I wanted to get into astronomy. So, in my college years, I studied a bit of astronomy and astrophysics, but the geek part of me always wanted to draw, and so my dad, being old school from Austria, after being born on the tail end of World War II, it was like, no, you got to learn a trade, right? So comics were out of the question. So I got into graphic design, and that's kind of where I found myself. Um, learning that, and but my dad also, who was a musician and who toured across Canada, there was always that little bit of a performing bug, I suppose, in me, sort of. So, I actually also wanted to get into radio too. So, yeah, it's been a very interesting first 50 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got and commenting. Lenrod says the nerds are the ones who focus on those getting good grades and die when they don't get straight A's. And Jill says one time I retook a class so I can get an A in it. What a waste of money, but I got an A. Okay.
Exactly, right? It's like after a while, once you've done the college thing and then you try to find a job in your field, it's like, so I needed a piece of paper to tell somebody I know how to do a certain thing. But you know what? In this day and age, here's the weird thing. You can almost find anything online, by Googling it or going to a YouTube channel and learning it. So it's almost making school, in a way, rather almost irrelevant. I don't want to say totally irrelevant, but almost slightly.
Yeah.
Not that I'm knocking school. Stay in school, kids.
Yes, stay in school. Sandra says she wanted her A too. Well, you needed to for nursing. You needed to for nursing.
Well, yes, I can see that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to, accidentally replace a spleen where a bladder should go or something. A's, I guess, in that case would be rather
required.
Needed? Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so and that kind of dovetailed into my other question: what made you want to be a creator? But you've already answered it. But if you want to embellish more as to why you wanted to be a creator,
like on YouTube or just in general, I suppose maybe just on YouTube.
The graphic designing.
Yeah, well, yeah. What it was is. Like I mentioned before, when I was younger, I read comics like most boys, I guess, back in the day. Back in the day. Oh my God, I'm really dating myself here. Like most kids, you hung around, you read comic books. And it's like you got to create these stories of these heroes. It's like equating it to Greek and Egyptian legends of tales of the gods and whatnot. And but nowadays it's different, and we have our mythos of comic book heroes. And so I wanted to draw. And so when I was really younger, I was pretty good, and like I said before, my dad being from the old country, it's like, no, you got to learn the trade. So, after years and getting into my teens and whatnot, my mom knew that I always wanted to draw and paint and blah, blah, blah. And so when I was like late in my teens, graduating high school, she said, why don't you become an architect? And I'm like, well, what the heck does an architect do? Didn't really pay attention to the name. Back in the 80s, you really don't pay attention to a lot of things, especially being a teenager. So she's like, oh, well, then, you can design buildings and stuff. And that just sounded boring to me. So it's like, who wants to do that? So she said, well, I heard that there's something similar in graphic design. And I'm like, so I looked it up, and then I found out, wow, I can still draw and anything I design can be put on, say, I don't know, an album cover or a street sign or, a can of tomatoes. God, it's like Andy Warhol almost. So, like basically graphic design is used in everything um, that we see in everyday things. And I thought, you know what? That might not be a half bad idea. So um, I applied to college and for graphic design, and I had to pick a second elective, which was radio broadcasting. And this is like around the mid 90s, around that time. And so I had an audition actually, for the radio broadcasting course. And so we went up. The place was like 2 hours away, about an hour and a half, 2 hours away, where I lived at this one college. And so I had to go 15 minutes live on the radio in the booth for my audition, because obviously, they want to hear how you sound on the radio and whatnot. And, fair enough. So I went in, and on this piece of paper, it said, talk about any topic of the day, or, or talk about the weather, or, topics that I could pick, basically. Right. So I had to pick a topic. And so at the time, what happened back in history, if anyone remembers, back around 95, I remembered a news broadcast that was on TV, where a drunk guy in California basically hopped in a tank and basically did a joyride around the neighborhood, only to be ending up, shot dead by cops. And so I decided to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I went on for 15 minutes, like, what kind of day and age do we live in where a drunk guy can basically take a loaded military vehicle, a tank of all things, and just go joyriding around, running over post office boxes and cars, and smash into light poles and stuff like that. And so after 50 minutes, I hear on the glass, a knock, and I'm looking behind me, and it's the department head, and she's with her finger like, come on out here. And I thought, oh my God.
Oh, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, right? Oh boy, I'm in trouble. I think I probably went a little bit too far. So I'm not going to get in this course, but oh well, graphic design was my first elective. So I didn't think too much of it, but I didn't want to get in trouble, obviously. So I come out, and she's like, Mike, do you know what a shock jock is? And I'm like, no, I never really heard of a shock jock before. She goes, well, let me put it to you this way. And God, I remember this conversation. I love it. She goes, let me put it to you this way. Do you know who Howard Stern or Rush Limbaugh is? I'm like, well, yeah. They're big, they're huge, right? It's like, you would be a perfect shock jock. I need you in my course. I need you. What is your first elective? And I said, graphic design. She goes, I will do anything possible to get you in my course. Would you be willing to drop it? Yeah. I'm like, well, I mean, if you really want me that bad, here's hoping I don't get into graphic design. So, but I really wanted to get into graphic design because I love drawing. And, but then again, because I kind of picked it up from my dad by him being a performer and all that, touring across Canada. I love to talk and give my opinion. And so fast forward to, today, or the past couple of years, I had a YouTube channel, and I really didn't do anything with it. except for a few little projects that I was trying at the time, because I'm such a nerd, and as anyone can probably tell by my avatar, yeah, it's a transformer, and I was trying out some things being a graphic designer. But as the years rolled on, I noticed more and more, not just in comics, but in TV shows and in movies, and basically pop culture as a whole. I was noticing a lot of really weird stuff going on, and where studios and like say Marvel or DC would be taking properties and just switching them around, and it's like, what, this is stuff that I grew up with, and now it's being perverted, I suppose you could say, for lesser want of a word. And by this time, I mean, I got kids, and the stuff I grew up with is just, it's not even suitable for kids to watch anymore, right? Or let alone read. I mean, I wouldn't get nowadays, a comic for any one of my kids whatsoever, because a lot of it's just pandering to this really warped ideology. I don't want to get into it too much, but basically, most of the stories are just becoming crap, unfortunately, and TV or movies are just not really for kids anymore. Even some animated movies I wouldn't even bring my kids to, because some of the blatant adult content that they sneak in there, I don't want to have to explain to my kids, why did character X do this or say that to character Y, it's like, no, kids need to be innocent and keep their innocence no matter what. Basically to be kids for as long as possible. And properties, for example, as I mentioned, I'm a Transformers fan, and when Transformers movie, live action movie, came out, when Michael Bay did it back in 2007, boy, some of the way the characters would just act, it's like, this is just not the same thing that I grew up liking or loving, right? So this kind of, after a while, started watching some stuff online on YouTube, and I ran into, let me think here, I think Doomcock was probably the first that I started watching, and then that led into The Critical Drinker, and then I think one night I discovered Klobby on Doomcock's channel, and so I ended up subscribing to him, and then I'm finding out that, and this is only like maybe a little over a year ago, finding out, hey, there are all these people that are basically noticing all these things too. And, and they either have kids or they're big fans like I am. And, they're talking about all this trash that's happening in pop culture that we've all liked for ages, and how it's basically being, for want of a better word, basically raped. Yeah, exactly, Lenrod. Like the hidden jokes in Shrek. It's like, why would you even put that kind of stuff in there, right? So I thought, well, you know what? If I don't do it now, I'm never really going to get around to it, and I'm just going to be basically a bystander listening to the news, so to speak. So why not just get on there also and try to raise an awareness and speak out about all this kind of stuff, not just as a fan, but as a dad, and and as a brother and a father and a son and whatnot, and try to hopefully bring some light at the end of the tunnel. And so my daughter came up with, why don't you just call yourself the Comic Relief Crusader, because you used to love comics and you used to draw comics. You want to bring relief to the masses, and you're basically a crusader like Batman, like the Cape Crusader.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
She actually came up with the name, the Comic Relief Crusader. I'm like, you know what? I like that. And she's like, no, don't use it. It sounds too corny. I was like, no, I'm going to use it. So,
yeah, I was going to ask what the origin of Comic Relief Crusader, and I like that.
Yeah, well, she's 12 and she's actually pretty darn smart.
Of course they are.
Yeah, she has never, and I will honestly say this on a stack of Bibles, she has never watched any cartoon, for her age, ever. Anything that she's ever watched has been stuff from like the 80s, right? She really has a thing for like 80s nostalgia and media, right? No matter how corny it is, right? She'll sit down, she'll watch like, say, G.I. Joe or Transformers or Silverhawks or something like she'll watch all that old stuff and she goes like, Dad, like the stuff you had back then was just awesome compared to the garbage that's on TV now, right? Yeah. I'm like, really? You really honestly think so? She's like, yeah, the cartoons nowadays just suck. So I had a good laugh out of that. I'm like, you know what? You're right. Yeah. So when we're in the car, there's this one channel up here in Canada, and I believe it's across Canada, called Jack. And they pretty much play, a lot of 80s music and, and occasionally 90s stuff too. And so she'll want me keeping it stuck on that channel. And she is just listening to 80s music like crazy, right? She loves Queen and she loves John Denver and
nice.
She'll listen to like George Michael or Aha or like all that stuff, right? She would rather listen to that than any of the music that's on now. And in a way, I find it such a relief that she has good taste like her old man.
Wise beyond her age.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay. So you've told us about the origins of your channel and what you're doing with your channel. How long have you been doing it again?
Well, I've been really started doing something with my channel for almost a year now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I thought, with this pandemic that's happening right now.
The coof, yes.
Yeah, the coof, the Bud Light virus. Because you can't say that Mexican beer. So, no. I thought, well, you know what? I'm sort of kind of working at home. I'm really not doing much of anything else. I'm just gonna gird up my loins, metaphorically speaking, and I got time. I might as well just do something now, you know? And so the first one that I did was the show that was coming out, Why the Last Man, which was a comic from I think the Vertigo title through DC. And it was an awesome story. And I remember reading it, basically about pretty much every man on the face of the planet with, the Y chromosome suddenly, for some reason, just dying like that, except for Yorick and his picked monkey. And he happens to be the last man on Earth. And then I heard that they were going to make this a TV show. And so I saw an article, and it's like, we're going to include basically making it as woke as possible because DNA doesn't matter. And if you feel like a woman, then I guess you are a woman. And God, I hope I'm not offending anybody, but you know what? You can't argue with science, and I'm sorry if somebody disagrees with that. But that was the first video. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And then hearing about Indiana Jones, and God, I love indie, but from what I was hearing about that time traveling and to push the whole whammon thing, that they're going to kill him off and basically replace Indy with with some woman is like, no, because you're retconning the entire show of the young Indiana Jones that was out in the 90s. Because if you remember that being on TV, at the beginning of the show, they showed a little snippet of old Indiana Jones, old Indiana Jones, right? That would entirely erase the whole thing, you know? And yes, Lenrod, yeah, you can argue with science, but that's the nature of science. What you can't argue with is facts. Yes,
indeed, definitely.
So, yeah.
So you've been on for about a year.
Yeah.
Well, I just calculated this month is my 6 month. Will be my 6 month anniversary later on in the month. Yay.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks. Sounds like a celebration, guys, but we'll talk about that later. This is about
to break out the beer.
This is about the Comic Relief Crusader. Yeah. Now to the meaty part. You have a channel, but I understand a little bird told me, or is it a little dog or little hedgehog or whatever zoo we've got around here? They say you're into graphic design.
Yes.
How,
I am.
Is that what your degree's in, or is
that,
it
is. Being, extremely nerdy. I suppose. Well, actually, here, let me kind of share how things kind of happened, because some people do want to see, I guess, some wares. So I guess I can show a few things.
We want to see the wares.
Thank
you, guys. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. Let us have a look here.
As we try and figure out, all right. Let me get you in
there.
Yeah,
well. So back in the 90s, this is kind of how it led up to things. Me and a bunch of friends, we had a comics group, right? And where we printed, we did our own comics, our own fanzines, and I did a couple of titles, and we were under the name of Drop Off Comics, right? Because I really wanted to draw, like I said. So I did a few issues, and it did go on from there. So when I started doing graphic design, one of the things I did, that's one of my comics that I did, the Forever Wars, and I'm just inspired by Japanese manga and whatnot. So this is way back when, 93, so almost 30 years ago. So when I became a graphic designer, one of the first things I did is I approached Hasbro, and I approached them with a prototype collectible card game, which would be here's one of the examples here, because during the time, card games were the big thing, right? So because you had Pokemon, and you had, what was it, Yu-Gi-Oh, and you had Magic the Gathering, and all this kind of stuff, right? So because, again, being a big nerd and Transformers fan, I had a contact in Hasbro, and I pitched a card game to them. And I hope that's showing up on the screen. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
So I got the idea. I borrowed a few tips here and there from other card games, and so I decided designed away, and I came with a whole deck of character cards and combat cards, and let's see, and weapons cards, and really researched gameplay, and so I had this all done, And the guy, my contact at Hasbro, he's like, you know what? Okay, great. Ship me the whole prototype game. I'm taking this to the San Diego Comic Con. This is like back in 2001, 2002. And pitched this to Wizards of the Coast because at the time, I believe they were in a little bit of a partnership going on.
Mm-hmm.
So they pitched it, and they were like, you know what, this is like really, really cool. We really like the idea, but we're gonna go with another kind of weirder idea where they actually had the cards, and you punch out the pieces out of the cards, and the pieces of the card either made the robot or they actually made like its vehicle mode, right? Yeah, which really bombed. But curiously enough, a few years ago, they actually did a format like the one that I made back in 2001 of the card game that I actually made. So, with a few differences here and there, but yeah, it was kind of nice to see that it somewhat survived. So, and the contact that I made at Hasbro, Josh Izzo, actually he works for Fox Interactive now. So, for the Fox company, which I believe now is actually owned by Disney. So that's kind of weird. But so yeah, I do quite a bit of graphic design work, as you see. I've done stuff for medical facilities, and oops, like that.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, well, this is like a battle scene where you would have your cards out, and you would have to fight over a battlefield, so to speak, and depending what side you're on, you would gain like certain advantages and whatnot. So it was pretty neat to come up with all this stuff. And then as Hasbro had a lot of other lines, they had I think later on, probably about 20 years ago, they had the Vinyl Tech, which would be the Japanese line, or here was known as alternators.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously this is all borrowed art, because I was making the prototype, and I didn't have time to like design all this stuff or stuff like this, which was from was it in Japan? It was known as Galaxy Force, but here in North America it was known as Cybertron. So it gave me great access to a lot of files that I was able to get from Hasbro. From the cartoon, and I had to go through, literally at the time, God, it was like 20, almost 30 years of Transformers history. So
wow.
So I found out that, let's see, after Beast Wars here in North America, it went into Beast Wars 2 and Beast Wars Neo in Japan, and then I found out after season 4 here in North America back in the 80s, it went on in Japan with Headmasters and Master Force and Transformers Victory, and then Zone, and so there was a whole slew of history that I had to go through and a lot of research, and so I got access to production charts from Sunbow that put out the original cartoon. And God, it was a slew of information that I was just given access to. So it was really fun.
I think as we're showing, CRC, as you're showing these out, I think this is probably a great time to let the chat ask questions and whatnot as you show us your wares.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, please, chat, start asking questions. Start making comments.
Do it.
And hello, Tiger Stripes. Good seeing you.
Tiger Stripes.
let's see.
Let's
see.
So as we're waiting,
Lenrod says it involves a lot of card flipping. It's not terrible, but not great either.
Meh.
Yeah.
I heard they actually shut down the current card game. So I guess they're not making it anymore.
He is showing his stuff.
I'm showing it now, Sandra.
So, okay. So your primary focus is on the, let's see. Yeah, Tiger Stripes. He designed gaming cards.
Yeah, it was a prototype card game for Hasbro back in 2001, 2002. And I pitched it to Hasbro, and they in turn brought it to the San Diego Comic-Con and pitched the idea to Wizards of the Coast. And they liked the idea a lot, but Hasbro decided to go in a different direction with a punch-out card game where you actually build the robot and then somehow convert it into a vehicle depending on your turn or something. It was weird. But they put out kind of the similar format apparently a few years ago, so it was kind of nice to see that.
Yeah. Let's see. Legatus asks, did you make them actual card sized, or did you print them out as full paper size so they could see the details?
I actually made them card sized, so I actually had you know what, I still actually have a few cards that I still have from a few other card games. So yeah, I measured it out, and then what I did is I printed them out on cardstock, and I had a full deck of combat cards and situation cards and character cards and everything, and they all fit in a box, and I had them all cut, and I even made instructions on gameplay, and I shipped it all to Hasbro in where are they now? Massachusetts, or I'm trying to remember. I can't even remember where Hasbro is now.
Let me check while you talk.
Yeah, and so I shipped everything out to them, and they brought it to San Diego Comic-Con. So I figured, you know what, if they had a working deck in their hands, a physical deck, then sure, why not print it all out, and so they can read the instructions, see how the gameplay works, and if it was a hit, it was a hit. And
Rhode Island, by the way.
Rhode Island, that's right.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was fun, and God, it was long hours on the computer. So, making cards after cards and doing all this research. And then after a while, my wife was like saying, why are you looking at toys and cartoons so much? I thought you were working on this game that you were pitching to Hasbro. It's like, I'm doing research on it. Yeah, it's like, no, you're not. You're looking at toys and watching cartoons. It's like, this is part of the research.
So did you diversify from cards into other things?
Well, I did. Yeah. After that kind of
Legata said, let's see. Wait. Lenrod says, well, Tiger Stripe says, that looks like a nice demo deck. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Was that computer generated?
Well, I did everything in Photoshop. So a lot of the characters that obviously you see on the card, like I got from either like source materials that I would get from Hasbro, and some of the artwork came from Japan. And so I had to make cards from them. And I even got them from comic sources that at the time, I believe it was Dreamwave Comics, which went out of business ages ago. They had the Transformers license first.
Yeah.
And so I got a lot of their artwork, and I was on a few fan websites trying to get fan reaction, but they didn't understand that this was a prototype game to be pitched for Hasbro. And they were like, you're just ripping off artists' art and you're just stealing it and saying it's your own. It's like, no, that's not the point. This is for Hasbro.
Yeah.
They own the characters. Therefore, I can use the art.
Yeah.
But some people didn't get that. So, yeah.
Lenrod says making your own TCG stuff is fun. He made a complete deck of Pazak cards. Wonder what that is.
I have no idea what Pazak cards are. But if you made a complete deck, then you know my pain. And congrats on you for making a full deck.
Yeah. And Legata says full deck, how many cards? Would they also fit in the standard 9-sleeve binder for easy storage?
Yes, actually they would, because they were based on game card size, right? How many cards? Oh my god, it was hundreds. Because what I did was I had one card for, let's say, one card for Optimus, right, in his robot mode, and it would have, like, for example, let's go back here. Let's say Optimus here. Okay, so you would have one card for his robot mode, and as you can see, there are all the stats of what it can do in robot mode. And then I had another one for his vehicle mode. So each Transformer had its robot mode and its vehicle mode. And if they were a triple changer, if some of you guys know what that is, and then there would be an alternate vehicle mode on top of that, right? So it was hundreds of cards. Hundreds and hundreds. And again, it was research. So honest to God, I was not just watching cartoons for the sake of watching cartoons. Contrary to what my wife would probably say.
Yeah. So did you primarily do the design, or did you also develop the actual game schematics, the actual game process, or did you have assistance with that?
I had a little bit of assistance with that from a lot of other, gamer geeks that I was hanging out with, right? And the stats that I came up with on each of their cards, I actually took from their what they call the tech specs on the back of the box, right? Back in the 80s, they had a little, what they call the tech spec. So it would give like their ratings on their skill and their firepower and their knowledge and blah, blah, blah. And you had like a little transparent red piece of plastic that you would put over so you could actually read the tech spec. And so a lot of the powers and whatnot was actually based on the original tech specs. So like, for example, here on Optimus's card, the C stands for close combat, the R stands for ranged, so like with a gun or something, and the D stands for defense. And so all of those specs that you see on the card, I would actually take from the original toy specs.
Okay.
And that's how it kind of came out with that. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hello, Resolute Germ. Thanks for coming on board. We're talking graphic design. We're talking games with the Comic Relief Crusader. So, do you have any drawings outside of card? Have you dabbled into the comic realm, or?
Well, I have. This is kind of where things get. Let's see here. Gonna have to bring it up. It's kind of like a whole progression of how everything kind of evolved. But so now I'm
jumping the gun.
Yeah, a little bit.
No, sorry.
I can show that after.
Okay.
So yeah. So again, after that was shut down, it's like, being a parent and actually being a responsible adult and doing graphic design. So I did everything from like medical stuff and God, I mean, I was doing brochures and just ads for like bars. This was like a prototype sign that I did for it was supposed to be an elite bar for the upper crust society in Calgary that I was supposed to do. Yeah. So so I had to do a little bit of a play on words. So they wanted to call it the Litmus Lounge. So I thought, well, okay, that's an interesting name. So how I came about with this look, responsible adult. Yeah, I know. That seems like a foreign concept to me. Also, Legatus.
The oxymoron.
Exactly. Getting old, growing old is mandatory. Acting old is optional.
Oh, so, I agree 100%.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the bar never came to fruition, but it's the one design that I came up for with these guys, Litmus Lounge, and I thought, well, okay, what is litmus? So it reminded me of a pH test, and so that's how I came up with this. It was supposed to be the sign for their bar. So, but yeah, I mean, I did other stuff. Like for example, this one for Eagles Med Spa in Calgary. Yeah, they wanted a very Zen-like look. So this was something I kind of very quickly came up with. Amazingly enough, they do liposuction, which I was almost considering. So got to get my beach body ready for the summer.
Yeah.
So,
me too.
Yeah. And so, during this time of doing this, graphic design stuff, it got me back into the fandom. And then I started designing this. I was still very active in the Transformer community.
Wow.
And I had a bunch of research that I got from Hasbro. And, I started collecting figures again. And in our Transformers community, there's a lot of what they call third-party companies that make, toys which aren't exactly licensed, but they are original molds and whatnot. So it's kind of a gray area in manufacturing, and all of these come from China anyway. And so collectible figures became, a big thing, especially in the Transformers kind of community. And so everybody was arguing, because everybody's looking for the perfect collection. And if you're a figure collector, you probably know this. Everybody was arguing about if certain characters, if certain figures were to scale. And this was a big argument. So I started developing these scale charts because I was starting to collect, and I noticed that certain figures weren't to scale, and I'm a perfectionist that way. So I started designing these scale charts, and they're movie poster sized. So they're 24 by 36 inches. So they're huge. And if you ever watch my videos, it's like the one I got signed in the back by Peter Cullen and Frank Welker. And if you know those names,
I know Peter Cullen.
Yeah. They're voice actors from, God, they've done everything, right? And yeah, thank you, Lenrod.
Why not?
It is actually a wall poster. And you can order them actually on my website. So, but yeah, I started designing these. I had all the source material from Hasbro that they gave me. all the production art and production scale charts and whatnot. So I started coming up with these. And, this is for the entire season 1, 2, 3 of the Transformers. And then, like I said, I started getting into, at the time, 30 years of history. And so, because I did the card game, I did the entire Japanese series on top of that. And, so all that cartoon watching came in handy. So, you like a good scale chart? You can have one, my friend.
Put your web chat or your web page in the private chat, and I'll put that link out there too.
Yeah.
So anybody who wants any of these charts can get them.
Yeah. So here we go. And there was a store there as well. So with all the production art that I got, I did these scale charts, and then next thing I know, it reaches the attention of everybody in Asia, in Japan, and in China. And then I get emails from, from third-party companies like Fans Toys is one, and then there's another one called X Transbots and Fans Hobby, and Zeta Toys, and like a whole bunch of third-party companies. And I actually got hired on by one of them called X Transbots, and they wanted me to do box art for them. So this is kind of like me getting back into drawing comic art again. And so this is one of the box art that I did for one of their products. And yes, 24 by 36 matte poster. So all of them are matte and that big. And so that's the figure that I showed on a previous video to you guys. And so I did the box art for that. And there is the box right there. So, and it's I'll tell you one thing. It's rather surreal in a way when, how should I put it? When something that you draw or you doodle, like it's different when it's graphic design, right? Because you're doing it for a client and the end result is, like a brochure or it's a website or it's, I don't know, a label or whatever, right? It's you're doing it for the client, right? But when it's something in the fandom and you're doing it because you really enjoyed doing it, because you watched it as a kid and or you played with it as a toy, when you do this and it's actually on the box of a product of something that you love to collect, it's a really surreal kind of feeling, right? It's like, oh my God, something that I drew and I helped make is actually like in physical form, and I can hold it.
Nice.
And I can put and the end result was I even helped doing the Pantone color work, which is essentially taking the colors from, say, the cartoon or the original cell art from production, which again, way back in Hasbro, I had all that stuff. So when you get the actual physical product, the actual toy in your hand, it's like, these were like the colors that I matched, and now I have the actual product in my hand. This is so freaking cool. Yes, I will ship to Canada and the US, and international shipping might be a little bit more depending where you're at, but I can get it to you internationally too, depending where you're at.
Okay.
So
I love
yeah.
the name. I love what they called the Quintesson, Dr. Egg.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, because in third party, obviously for legal reasons, you can't use their actual name, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the guy at X Transbots there, the guy's name, even though he's obviously Chinese because he lives in China, we call him Keith. He was thinking, what do we call this character? So I have a little hand in naming some of the characters that these guys produce. And so I said, well, he looks like an egg. He's a floating egg with faces, and as a joke, I said, why don't we just call him Dr. Egg, right? so I called him Dr. Egg. Yeah. So I thought it was just hilarious. And so the next one that's coming out soon, if any of you ever remember the show from the 80s, there's the Quintesson Prosecutor.
Yep.
And yeah, so that was in Transformers the movie, the animated movie, and showed up a few times in season 3. So that's the next one that's actually coming out.
Oh, okay.
I believe June. So the Dr. Egg one actually has, lights and sound, and it has a remote control with it. This one is actually going to be the same thing. So he's gonna talk. His mouth is gonna move, and the energy beam lights up. And
nice.
So he wanted to call this one Le Poulpe, which is French for the octopus. Yeah, he thought it would be a nice Canadian homage to me because I do it, and because I live in Canada, right? I'm like, well, Keith, I'm not French. So he's like, no, but you're Canadian, right? It's like, but we got more than just French here. So I'm like, can I just name it something else? It's like, no, we're gonna go with this name. It's like, oh God, okay, fine. Yeah. So it's the octopus. It's like, oh God, really? You had to come out with that?
Yeah.
But yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah. Now, have you done any artwork for Hasbro and Bandai, who I believe they both own the Bandai also owns the rights to the characters?
Well, that would be actually Takara in Japan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Bandai owns essentially Gundam.
Oh, okay. I thought they also.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and I'll tell you, Bandai is super protective of their property.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, anybody in China tries to make a knockoff of Gundam models. Oh boy, they will lay the hammer down.
Mm.
I kid you not. Yeah, Hasbro, it seems, is a little bit different because they see it kind of as almost like a promotional thing. It's like, hey, you're bragging about our license, which is Transformers. So they really don't crack down hard on these guys, on third-party companies, which is rather odd.
Yeah. Have any of your art gotten on any of Hasbro's boxes?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I actually last year pitched the idea to Hasbro about being a distributor for these scale charts that I made, because they are technically unofficial, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm not putting on the poster that this is a Hasbro licensed product, because obviously that would get me in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I do not need.
No.
But all the material that I researched is from official sources, so it's as close to 100% accurate as you're going to get. right?
Mm-hmm.
So last year I did write Hasbro, and I said, look, this is based on, obviously your characters, and I did do prototype work way back in the early 2000s, and I would like to, license this scale chart, through you guys to print them out and sell them, so I haven't heard back from them yet.
Mm.
I see that when you buy now is only when shows the price is in US dollars. Will you add that US dollars to the store page? Do you have a no, I don't have a fax page actually on my page yet. But it's basically that's the price shipped, right? So yeah, wherever the post goes, whatever the shipping charge is, that's to essentially everywhere in North America.
Okay.
Because shipping costs money.
Yes, indeed.
And so does printing.
I know what you mean. And Tiger Stripes asks, when did you contact Hasbro?
Oh God, this was like I believe it was about 2001. I actually, believe it or not, I actually still have the emails. Yeah, I know, right? It's like just when you think, you probably are going to delete, any old email. No, I am keeping those emails forever. I don't care how old it gets. Yeah, I know it's like,
posterity
20 years ago now, but
mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a once in a lifetime thing, right? And so, how often does anybody get to do that, right? To be able to produce a prototype anything for something that you really enjoyed as a kid, not a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, I know it's 20 years old, but I'm keeping those emails for good.
Yeah,
so
good point.
That's my proof, and I'm not gonna delete that.
Okay, so what else have you?
But since then, since doing the box arts, I mean, just continue to do graphic design work, like places like this, that's opening up it's kind of like a gym and holistic nutritional meditation place, Piercing Nutrition. That's supposed to be a chain that hopefully might happen a little later on this year. And since then, I've been doing stuff like cover bands, album covers for like a metal band, like this one. I know it's a bit creepy for my liking, but just doing design work like this, they're kind of like a Metallica-ish band before they cut the hair, so they actually do rock. And and working with production companies that do TV and film, like the JDB Film Company in Calgary, Jay Beecham, who actually does the TV show for Van Helsing, I think, which you can actually still catch on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
So, he's the TV producer, so it's pretty neat.
Tiger Stripe says, when did you contact them about the size chart?
Oh, about the scale chart? I contacted them actually last year, I think around this time last year. And I believe that if they don't respond within 6 months, oh wow, time flies. So I think if they don't respond after, it's either 6 weeks or 6 months. If they don't respond back, then you probably have to do another submission again.
Okay.
So but so it's kind of opened the doors to bigger things, working with now music bands and TV producers. So I get to up my price a little bit, but But yeah, and this is another one I did for the same TV producer for a TV pitch, which was going to be called The Reporterer, which is basically a TV producer that reports sports that suddenly finds himself out of a job, and so he has to basically cope with life, being that that's his only skill. And little did I know that it was supposed to be actually a Muppet. Yeah, because he actually showed me a picture of the character, and it was actually supposed to be like this Muppet-looking character. So I had no idea it was supposed to be like some sort of Muppet TV show whatsoever. So I think this is actually still in the development stage. So you might actually see this on screen, and the end logo to probably one of the Van Helsing shows. If not that one, then it's probably going to be another one that I designed for him. But yeah, now I'm just feeling the itch to go back to comic roots, you know. So right now I'm working on just drawing a comic like I wanted to do so many years ago, right? Like I originally wanted to do as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what I really wanted to do. That's why I got into graphic design. And back in the 90s, like I showed earlier, yeah, a bunch of my friends and myself, we produced a bunch of fanzines. And, you know, and it was neat back then. We had several issues out. We had several titles. And we had an interview on CBC radio, and this was like back in St. John, New Brunswick, and you know, and it was neat to do that kind of stuff. And you know, and I'm old enough now. Most of my kids have like moved out of the house, and yeah, I just feel this pullback ever since I've been like listening to Clobbering Times, and yeah, because of having a channel like this and finding out what they're doing to comics and TV shows and movies and pop culture, it's like, you know, I want to contribute something more than just basically a YouTube channel. I want to do so much more. So yeah, now I'm wanting to draw comics again.
Yeah, I mean, that's a
nerd, you know.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. That's a great picture right there.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had a little help in the background actually from another guy that I just fell into contact with, and he's like, you know, hey, you want to add maybe a few little things here and there for your background just to make it, you know, a little more quote unquote realistic and whatnot. So
yeah,
but you know, like yourself, I mean, there's a reason why you got into writing and wanting to do books, right? Because there was something in your past that really made you love it.
Yeah.
You know, and wanted you to pick up a pen and started, you know, writing stories about something or someone or a situation, and to open up a universe, so to speak, and explore it. You know, and I want to do the same thing. Yeah. You know, and explore.
Oh, yeah, I understand totally.
Yeah, and explore characters in your head. The first con that I went to, Legatus. Yeah. Comics, novels, covers is an art form of its own. Yeah, that's true. Do you think the interior art should match or be on the same level, same time per page, or is it is the cover a monster all on its own? Oh God,
that's tough to answer.
That's a loaded question.
Because the cover's going to bring the eyeballs.
Exactly. You know, and this is kind of one of the things I learned with graphic design, and probably you also as an author. The one thing that I really learned, the most important thing I learned, the first con that I ever went to, and this is back in New Brunswick, this is like early 90s, I ran into the author of, you remember that sci-fi movie, Enemy Mine?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With, oh God, what's his name? Louis Gossett Jr. and what's his name?
Okay, Chad, help us out. Enemy Mine.
Help us out, Chad.
Help us out. You guys know Enemy Mine.
Oh God, the white guy. I can't believe I'm just saying the white guy.
Louis Gossett. I think I know who you mean.
Yeah, you know who I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway, Randy Quaid. No, not Randy Quaid. God, Randy Quaid. Anyway, I ran into the author.
Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid. Thank you,
Legatus.
Dennis Quaid. Randy Quaid. Oh my God. I can just imagine that. I'm picturing like Independence Day, with Randy Quaid. Anyway, with Dennis Quaid. And so I ran into the author that actually wrote the book of that story that was made into that Hollywood movie, right? And this is me in my early 20s, and so I was talking with him. And yes, thank you, Tiger Stripes. Also,
yes, thank you, Tiger Stripes. You are not invisible here.
You are not.
You are not
I'm
invisible.
Trying to concentrate, and yeah. So we were talking, about how we came up with the idea for the characters in the movie, and he looked at me and he goes, I see you got a what looks like a comic, and I said, well, yeah, this is one of the stories that I came up with, just a fanzine. And he said, can I have a look at it? And I was like, kind of like shocked. It's like, oh God, he's gonna think this is crap.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's an author that basically had a movie done, and I'm comparing myself, thinking, oh, geez, he's kind of thinking this is a joke. And he actually went through it, and he actually read it, and 5 minutes passed, and he put it down. He goes, let me give you a tip, kid. He goes, whenever you write a story, you have to write it from the angle that nobody knows anything about your character. You might know everything about your character, but the reader doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You have to approach the story from that angle. You have to explain your character and where they come from and why they're acting a certain way, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so going back to Legatus's question about like the cover, what I learned in graphic design is with business cards or with a flyer or whatever, you only have, they say, a maximum of about 5 to 10 seconds to grab the audience's attention, right? So I'm the kind of guy that thinks the cover is the most important because that's where you grab the reader.
Mm-hmm.
The interior art has got to be just as good. I wouldn't say or better. I want to say the same, as good looking as the cover. Because if the cover looks great, right? I know there are some comic collectors out there that just collect comics for the cover because they like the cover, and that's fine. That's great, right? At least they have an appreciation for the art. But to me, a comic is for reading. You want to read you want to read the story. You want to be lured into the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you as an author, you totally get that.
Oh yeah.
So to me, if the interior art isn't as good as the cover, and if the story that goes along with it doesn't grab them, if you can't pull that in, then the whole book there's no point to the whole book then.
That's true. That is so true.
That's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah. That's an interesting question.
Yeah, if the comic is in black and white, should the cover also be in black and white? Or should it be in color? Same goes for any ads in the book. You know what? I think a cover should be in color.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always been used to color on a cover, on a comic cover.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a few manga that have black and white covers, but I don't know. I think the psychology of color, like learning color theory in graphic design, you know that certain colors can trigger your audience to feel a certain way, or like there's a color association used in certain products that you associate a certain feeling with, with that product. And so I think that, color and covers, they go hand in hand, like peas and carrots.
Mm-hmm.
But so that is me in a nutshell, I suppose.
All right. Great stuff.
Dream.
Yes. Great stuff.
I try.
Ask questions. I'm going to put his link back out there. You guys got great questions. Here is his website and his YouTube channel.
And Freelance Graphics with a K, because I had to be different that way. And, with a ICS at the end, that was already taken.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah.
Yep. I've got a question going back to the Transformers.
Yeah.
Did you use any of Marvel's stuff? Because
like for the card game?
No. Well, for any of the, for the card game, for any other graphics, because I think the initial Marvel comic was a poor substitute for the TV shows.
Oh yeah. The two were totally different. Yeah, in some aspects. So, because what happened during the TV show being produced and Marvel Comics, what was it? See, the thing was, Hasbro originally approached Marvel. Hey, we got a bunch of characters. We think it's going to be a big seller. And Jim Shooter basically brought it over to Bob Budiansky and said, hey, this is for you. Come up with a whole bunch of names and character profiles for all these characters. And we're going to produce a comic. And so it was all left in Bob Budiansky's hands. And of course, then also Hasbro then approached Sunbow Productions, which had already been producing G.I. Joe. Mm-hmm. And they wanted to, obviously produce the cartoon. Well, what ended up happening is Budiansky had all these profiles made up, and the Marvel comic was, starting to be produced. But there was a little bit of fighting going on between Sunbow and Marvel. They just did not get along whatsoever. So there was a little bit of fighting going on between the two for the longest time. So that's why there were also so many errors made, not just probably with animation, but with with scripting and the way maybe some characters were a little different than what was actually in the Marvel comics.
Mm-hmm.
What ended up happening is that they were under. See, Hasbro had no idea that they had a huge seller on their hands with Transformers. See, because before that, Tonka had GoBots, and that did fairly well, and they had I think a season or two or something like that. But Hasbro was really gambling on this, and they had become really big. And what ended up happening is that from a finished script to a full-blown, ready-to-go to TV episode was 3 months, right? Which was unheard of. It was like terribly rushed. So Marvel was trying to tell Sunbow, hey, do this and this and this. Sunbow was like, screw you guys. We're going to be doing it our way. Based on, some of the information that you gave us. And yeah, it's the story that has gone on into legend now.
Yeah. Look, Legata says so many comic books have substandard. I imagine he says. I imagine he meant okay. He retyped it. There you go. Today, many comics have substandard interior and cover art. Only the variant covers look good. Good point.
Yeah, it depends on who's doing the variant cover.
That's true. That is true.
I hated those in the 90s, though, the variant covers. Well, I shouldn't say I hated them. I loved them. It was like a love-hate relationship, right? Because, if, when you went to the comic shop and you got your monthly titles, or your weekly titles, but you ended up having that one variant cover instead of the normal cover. And especially if that variant cover went like side by side to another title, which was often the case sometimes in the 90s, especially. Oh my God, then you had to hunt down all those other issues of a title that you probably didn't even collect. And then on top of that, those titles like had some, if the story grabbed you, then you had to find the back issues also on top of that. Of said other titles. Oh, I hated it. Yeah. Because then I ended up spending more money on comics than I actually wanted to. Oh, God. Yeah. But some of the artwork on variant covers were just beautiful, especially the ones that came out by, what was it, by Image, because Big Seven left Marvel. And
yes, definitely. Tiger Stripe says, they're trying to get the collectors to buy all the variations of the cover.
I know, right? Those bastards making you spend their money, your money.
Yeah, of course. And like Lenrod says, sounds like their plan succeeded.
Exactly. Devious plans. Darn tootin'.
Hello, Deef. How are you? Deef. How are you, sir?
Hello,
Welcome.
fellow Canuckian.
Yes. Yes, good to see you.
Oh, yeah. It was a love-hate relationship with me. And, oh, God, especially with Image. It was you collected all these Marvel titles. That all of them did, because obviously you were hooked. See, and this goes back. You were hooked on the interior art. The cover helped, but it was the fact that you had that interior art that went along with the cover, right? Like say with Eric Larson or Todd McFarlane or Jim Lee or any of them. And then when they left Marvel, it's like, well, they had, how should I put it? They had their backup artists, their backup plan, right, to fill in. Now all of these guys are gone. And, some of them were pretty good. Like, for example, Archie Bear. I liked his work because it was similar to Jim Lee. And so all the seven did their own titles. And then they opened up their own studios, like Extreme Studios in Wildstorm and what was it, Eric Larson's Big Brow or something like that, and McFarlane that is. And then they all had their offshoot titles. So you wanted to collect them all. And oh God, it was such a money suck in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. And Legata says, before I put my inventory on a spreadsheet, when it came to novels, when I see a cover I do not recognize, I thought it was a new story and not a reprint with new artwork. Hate it.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm. And he says the cover helps sell the issue, but the interior art story makes for a return customer.
That's right. Exactly. Totally.
Yep. And Tiger Stripes has a good one. I love this one because I've had my share of Mad magazines and did my own share of folding the back cover myself.
Oh yeah.
She read recently that when Al Jaffe invented the fold-in for Mad magazine, William Gaines loved the idea because so they mutilate the magazine, then they'll have to buy another one to save. Yeah. The evil plan to make more money. The search for more money.
I never collected Mad magazine, but whenever my mom went shopping in the grocery store, because Mad magazine was obviously on the magazine rack, right? Mm-hmm. My brother and I would hang out because my mom didn't like Mad magazine. She let me collect comics. That was not a problem, right? But Mad magazine, for some odd reason, it was kind of like, cha-ching, exactly, right? But Mad magazine seemed like, I don't know, to her, it seemed like something like really taboo, oh, you shouldn't collect that. It just doesn't look nice, So, but my brother and I would hang out by the magazine rack while my mom went, getting groceries. And we would constantly fold the back cover to see what the secret picture was. Oh my God. I don't know how many back covers that we probably folded up.
While they were still on the stand.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Because we wanted to see, was it going to be something like totally faux pas or what?
You delinquent you. You delinquent you.
Exactly. How many have I damaged in the name of pure, unadulterated humor and fun?
Yes. Dave says everybody judges books by the cover, and they should. First impressions matter.
That's right. Yeah. Like I said, you got that 5 to 10 seconds.
Yep. But the inside keeps you going back for the sequels.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. You got a good story, then the reader wants more.
Yeah. Artists like Frank Frazetta, a publisher would ask for any unused artwork and find a story to use it on, and the novel sold.
Yes. Dude was a wizard.
Yes.
Man. Him and the other guy there, Frazetta, and God, there was another artist that did a lot of pulp magazines and whatnot. You know what? And his name escapes me right now. Dang. He used to do a lot of zombie stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. But artists like that, jeez. See, I kind of equate these guys. Yeah, Boris. Dang. His stuff was just amazing stuff. I kind of equate these guys to like the Renaissance artists, right? Back then, during that time period, during the Middle Ages and whatnot, where you had fantastic artists, phenomenal artists. Yes.
Boris Vallejo.
Yeah. Oh God. Amazing stuff. Because nobody does classical art anymore. Not really. Not a lot. Or it's certainly not prevalent in today's society. But comic artists, especially like Boris and Frazetta and the like, and sure, to a lesser degree, a lot of the comic book artists, but those guys just do phenomenal art, and it's almost like they are like our Renaissance artists for today.
Yep, definitely.
You know,
And this is so true, Teef. Don't cheap out on the cover.
that's right.
Yep.
That's right. The cover needs that love.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Conversations that I've had with Fet for Hire on my covers. Fortunately, he could take what the concepts even just a small concept and do amazing things. So
yeah, he's
Hail Fet for Hire.
Hail Fet for Hire.
Yep. Yes.
That's the one thing I get stuck on though, right? Like the one that I showed you earlier, the last picture that I showed, that's going to be my page 1.
Mm-hmm.
For what I'm going to hopefully try to get out as the first issue. And probably put it on Indiegogo, as a crowdfunding kind of thing. Because of the whole Comicsgate thing and whatnot, and the first issue that we originally put out, as Drop Off Comics way back in the day, was actually 1993. So that was like 30 years ago. So I kind of want to give it that big, complete circle kind of thing. Hey, 30 years later, I'm kind of contacting some of my old friends that I've stayed in contact with, and and asking them, hey, you feel like having some fun again? So because I maybe it's just the nostalgia in me that just wants to go back to simpler times, probably because now I'm 50 and becoming an old man.
Stop it.
Yeah, but you're only as old as you feel, right?
Got that right. You
Exactly.
got that right.
So,
and I'm 15.
Yeah. But why not have fun? I mean, we're only here for a short time, right?
Yeah.
So
true.
And I'm not saying just go out and just willy-nilly just do whatever, but be productive during your life, but at least try to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
Like my mom used to say, if you can make your hobby your job, then at least you go to work happy.
Yeah.
I'd rather go to work happy.
That's true. That's true.
So,
okay. Well, we could go on forever, but we do have a time limit here.
I suppose.
Yeah. Time flies when you're having fun. Kids think I'm 23 and still feel about like that, though my wrists are shot. Yeah. Yes. Well,
With
this
me,
is
it's my back.
my back too.
Back
too. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
No.
The back is the first thing to go.
Is it really though? Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because I did a lot of hard labor. I'll tell you that much, man. Like besides doing graphic design, because you got to earn a paycheck, between clients. I did a lot of labor stuff and scaffolding and stuff like that, right? Like a lot of heavy stuff. And oh boy, it wears on you, bud. I'm telling you.
Indeed. Legata says, with today's era of altering the past, what is your opinion on all art altering past art to meet today's sensibilities? For example, covering up Michelangelo's nudity, can't have an athletic male form.
Yeah, well, what?
My thought is that's an atrocity.
It is. It really is, because to me it's a slap in the face to the artist, first of all, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? If somebody can't take like art, nudity in the form of art, all right, like classic art like this, for example, I mean, stuff like pornography. I'm sorry, that's not art, right? Yeah, anybody can be naked, but this, in this case, if somebody can't take that, well, then you're looking at the wrong stuff. Go look at something else. Go look at a can of beans.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
This was a celebration of the human form, and you know, in Michelangelo's time, you know, he was mostly hired by the Catholic Church, you know, being Italian, of course, and you know, and commissioned to do artwork, you know, and it was a celebration, in at least in his perspective, of God giving man form, infinite in all his movement and faculties, and you can see that in his statues, in the way he did it. It wasn't just to you know, to just show brazen nudity, like, you know. It was, no, it wasn't anything like that, you know. It was art for art's sake, and if anybody can't take that, yes, or in a can of tomato soup, exactly, like Andy Warhol, go enjoy that, you know.
Yep, Dave, well said. Well said.
You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, even Marvel, even some artists that work for Marvel now are getting pretty ticked off because some of their artwork is being altered, right? I think there was a recent article of a Conan comic that somebody had put out, right, of like some female high priestess bad guy in a Conan comic, and you know, and it looked really great. And apparently, you know, some of it had to be drawn over because, heaven forbid, we see the female form. She wasn't naked or anything like that. It's just they put like some sort of poncho or whatever was, you know, over her, right? Yeah, or a red stripe over the National Museum legatus. That's right. You know, no, screw that. Stop altering artists' art. That's what they're remembered for. You know, for drawing. If you cover up what somebody has painted or sculpted or drawn, you're not giving you're not giving that artist his due. Yeah, because it's a lot of hard work to study anatomy and stuff like that, you know, only to be covered up. Like, give me a break. Yeah
Definitely.
It's altering history. That's right, Dave.
Yep, exactly. It is rewriting, actually. He says it's rewriting. Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
And that's another reason why I got my channel, right? Because I'm sick and tired of this, of retconning and rewriting and covering up and you know, all this silly stuff. You know, just because a few people are offended, it's like, you know, grow some cool yums.
Yeah. You know? Yes, definitely.
Grow some, you know.
Yes, grow a set.
Yeah, exactly. Grow a set, right? Yeah. Because it's not that bad. No. Really. Come play with us. We have cake.
Yes.
Maybe muffins.
Yes. All right.
Maybe a cup.
Comic Relief Crusader. This was great. This was fantastic. So. Yes, time flies when you're having fun, and I hope the chat had fun. They had great questions.
Yes, they did.
Great questions.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Yes, and let's put his stuff out there. There's his YouTube channel, and Legatus will put out his webpage. So go look up the Comic Relief Crusader. Look up his stuff. Watch his like and subscribe his YouTube channel, and he will come here. He's a guest. He's a periodic guest on Just Cuz here with the good stuff.
Please like and subscribe.
Yes.
I'm begging you all, help me save pop culture.
Yes.
There are idiots in the factory, and they don't know what they're doing.
Yes. Anti-derivative Jill says you're awesome. Comic Relief, great stream, and she enjoyed listening. Well, thank you, Jill.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
I appreciate it. And
Yes.
and I am going to get into season 2 of the Orville, and I am so happy that they're going to actually do a season 3. Yeah. I really honestly can't wait. That is actually a really good show.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we got to work on catching up on the. Oh man, you're getting a lot of subs there, Deef and Linerod.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Steve. Yeah. Thanks, Len.
And the goddess says we missed the days when the scariest thing on TV was the Twilight Zone and not the nightly news.
The nightly news.
Yes.
You know what I've been doing is I've been watching the old Outer Limits from the 60s. Oh my god! Like, have you ever watched the old 60s?
Yeah, a long time ago.
And it's so enjoyable.
I am not going to date myself.
I love it better than actually the 90s Outer Limits.
Oh yeah.
And yes, and I'm hoping there's a season 4 too.
Yep.
God, please, yes. It's actually probably it's like a funnier Star Trek, the Orville.
Yeah.
It's actually more Star Trek than current Star Trek.
Yes. All right. So let's see some. But I do got to ask: is your avatar Optimus Prime, and did you draw it?
Okay. No, I did not draw it. And you know what though? You are the second person to ask if it's Optimus Prime. The other guy was Brandon, the anime guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you ever seen his channel? Because he goes through all the anime stuff. And I was watching one of his live streams. I think what was it? Not yesterday, the day before. And he actually commented on the avatar, and he's like, "Oh, that's a funny one of Optimus Prime." And I'm like, no, okay, this is not Optimus Prime. This is actually Star Saber from Transformers Victory, which was released in Japan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I grew up on 90s Outer Limits too, Jill. But yeah, the 60s stuff, it's you know what? The stories are actually really good.
Yeah, I think it was actually better. We control the horizontal. We control the vertical. I think a lot of that was better than the Twilight Zone.
It is. You know what? And my daughter, I mean, she's like 12 and a half. She loves the intro to the 60s Outer Limits. She loves it. Like, I showed her, it's like, you know what? It was actually on in the 90s too. And I showed her the intro. It's like, nah, I like the 60s one actually better because it's the original.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will have you on, if not on another interview here sometime, we will definitely have you on Just Cuzzies. It's always fun talking to you.
Look forward to it.
Yes, it's always fun talking to you. And everybody, please like and subscribe to Pop Cult, the Comic Relief Crusader. And also, if you like what we're doing here, like and subscribe to King Dolphin TV.
Yes.
Support
this man. Him and Sandra do so much work and so much wrenching on so many channels that, man, you two, it seems like you're always on a channel, and you guys are just nonstop busy. Like, seriously, kudos to you two.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Sandra and I both appreciate it.
Yeah. No, like, seriously, like catching bots and stuff like that. Like, oh my God, you guys are just nonstop. Go get it.
Yeah. It's fun. I enjoy it. And I like I said, I just counted down, and I got to figure out the exact date, but this will be the 6 month.
Sweet.
The mid-year.
Nice.
the mid-year. We got to do something. We got to do something.
We do. We got to plan a party.
Yeah, party. Just cause explosion or something like that.
Exactly. We need fireworks.
Yeah.
And an elephant. And we need Pudgy to get totally blitzed. And
let the Mayor Pudgy out. We need the Mayor Pudgy out. We need alternative drill.
Yes.
Yes, we know we need craziness. But let us do some show notes. And what did Sandra just say? Sandra says, I'm not cleaning up after the party. That's the producer's job.
That's why you have Snoopy.
That's why we have Snoopy.
Yes, he'll clean up all the leftover food.
So true. All right. Show notes. This Saturday we'll have a Just Cause. We're gonna get a Sandra report.
Nice.
We're gonna have probably some pictures from the book signing I do earlier in the day. Finally, the coof is lessening, and people are seeing people again. And I'm gonna be doing a book signing on the 9th. And of course, we'll do the usual madness. On the 12th, I will be a guest on Maria with Tea and Telly, talking about my books and talking about the channel. On the 13th, we'll be doing another Bunny Trail Rescue Tour with Beth Ambrosia, and we'll probably get a Jamie Lee update because that'll be right after her surgery.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
She is in surgery. God, yeah. Oh, she's doing well.
Yeah, Jamie Lee. In fact, I'm gonna do an update. Jill says, "Yeah, it's okay. We can borrow the Claboni to clean up the mess." Oh yeah,
that's right.
I think that's gonna be Claboni. I think it's gonna be Claboni level. And in fact, let me do a quick Jamie Lee update. See if it's. I mean, they've already got the surgery scheduled, but let's see what the latest GoFundMe says. 3,060.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so I think they're making headway. 3060 for Jamie Lee. So yes, if you have not donated to the if you have not donated, please get this word out to help continue to fund this little cute little bunny, Jamie Lee, to get her eye surgery. I'm putting the link out there. So please pass the word around. Let's get some more funds for the surgery.
That's right. If you don't, you hate bunnies.
Yes, if you don't, you hate bunnies. And we're gonna stick Snoopy. We're gonna stick Snoopy, Snort, and Pudgy on you.
He's right, because the only thing you do not want on your side coming after you is wicked hedgehog.
Yes, definitely. Okay, let's go back to the show notes. On the 20th, we're going to have Janet from Another Planet showing off her creations. She's got
Janet
from another planet.
From another planet.
The Galaxy Gal.
Galaxy Gal, Janet.
Yeah. She's got some good artwork that I want to have her show. And on the 28th, we will have 4 Paws Protection, where they provide protective gear for police canines.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Okay. Legatus Legion Eye says Mirror Universe Pudgy.
Yes.
And if you try to dodge the bunnies, Basil will swoop in. Yes. Yes.
We all seen what happened in Monty Python in the Search for the Holy Grail.
Yes, we did. Still
Nobody
creepy.
wants that.
Nobody wants that. Flying bunnies.
Oh, the white bunny. Oh, my God.
The white bunny. Yep. So those are the show notes for April. And of course, every Saturday we'll have Just Cause. And I'm thinking we'll probably schedule a celebration, a 6-month celebration, probably the 30th of April. I have to look at my schedule, but April's another busy month. May is shaping up to another busy month, and busy months are good. Busy months are good. So let's say goodbye to the wonderful chat. You guys have been fantastic. As Sandra says, we are small, but we are feisty.
Yes.
And we are mighty.
Right.
Yeah.
In numbers, we are mighty and cannot be defeated.
Yes, definitely. As the Wrench Team Supreme, we have Legatus Legionii. We've got Anti-Derivative Jill. We have the amazing Sandra as the producer and the Mistress Wrench. And then, as always, we have the chatters. You guys have been amazing tonight. Your questions have been wonderful, insightful. Mere Pudgy is scary. Renewing Kurtzman's for 20 years. Oh, that is cringy. That is cringy.
Beware, all of you. Mirror Pudgy is out there.
Yes, Mirror Pudgy is out there. And then let us say good night to the chat. And let us start with Florida Poopas! Gilbert.
Yes, thank you all for listening to my rambling.
Yes.
Good
ramblings. Good ramblings.
I'm a storyteller. I can't help it.
Hey, cool. Nice. So, Snorter Poopas. Good night. Mini Snort just said good night to you. Good night to D. Bud Martin. 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser was listening while on the road. Lenrod, thank you very much. Tiger Stripes, glad you're here. Yes. Please subscribe to Tiger Stripes' channel. She's actually getting videos out there.
Nice.
And I'm going to get you on, Tiger. I want to hear about your channel, what you have planning. Resolute Germ, good night. Good night to the lovely Sherry. And good night to Deef. And Jill just says, you're fascinating rambler, so ramble on.
I can't help it. This is the only chance I get because my wife constantly tells me, you talk too much. I hardly talk whatsoever. It's the only chance I get.
Legatus says, can you add a line to Ode to the Pod for Rennie? Asking Sandra. We'll have to figure that out. So, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed yourself tonight. Please subscribe to the Comic Relief Crusader. And everybody stay safe. Stay healthy. And let's continue to make some waves. And we will see you on Saturday.
Yeah.
This segment is brought to you by thedolphinwars.com.
I tried not to ramble so much.